Bonjour à tout le monde. Welcome to everyone to another beautiful episode where Undiscovered Canvas is presenting to you the artists that she represents. And today we are joined by the wonderful Phumzile Buthelezi all the way from South Africa. Phumzile, welcome, Sisi. Bonjour. How are you?
Hi, I'm wonderful and great. And how are you?
I'm great, Sisi. We're still in the lockdown, but we are surviving. How is the situation for you? Knowing very well that you have your studio, which is downtown Johannesburg, and now you are at home and with your daughter and your husband. Are you in a position to work? Is it even possible?
It's difficult, but since I have to juggle being a wife, a mother, and an artist, it's a bit trickier. But how I make things better for myself is to at least do a little bit of work every day. Just make sure that every day I accomplish something, no matter how small. That makes me feel better.
Excellent. That is great, Sisi. For those of you who might not know Phumzile, Phumzile is a multidisciplinary visual artist from South Africa. She specializes in textile and reusable materials. Now, Phumzile, your dad was a handyman and your mom was a dressmaker. It is quite visible that that part of craft, you have taken it into your art today. Can you please explain to us how you've arrived at mixing those two so well in your works today?
Well, I think it's because it's really in the back of my mind, like in my subconscious, because when I was growing up, as my father was a handyman, because he's passed on now, he would collect and bring home wood and doors, to use at home. So he would make shelves and cupboards with them. And my mom did similar things as well. She brought home pieces of cloth, and then she would sew them up together to make curtains, bedspread, and clothes for us. So sometimes I would find myself matching the curtains and the bedspreads, but I didn't really mind as a child to do that. So that way of living, it taught me as growing up, that I could always find something close to me. I cannot always make an excuse that I don't have money, so I can find something and use it. So I think it was inspired by my parents, because as a child I was always busy doing something. I would be embroidering or crocheting or knitting, so I found a need to make my work more interesting by incorporating the skills that I have into my work. Plus, I'm also a texture junkie, if I should say, because I love creating texture. And sometimes when work is just simple, I find myself creating that texture. So I always have a need to put texture in there.
Phumzile, your works are exquisite, not just for the visual eye, but also when it comes to the technique that you use. Most people won't understand that these sculptures, some of them are more than 1 meter long, but it's not only just the technique that goes into your work, it's also the narrative that is quite important, because you try by all means to tell stories of Black women in your works. Can you tell us more about the narratives that you put in your work, Sisi?
Women are more than just hips and boobs, and it is very important for me also, and for my daughter, to be able to narrate these stories, because amongst other things, I am documenting them, but I'm also encouraging and motivating other women to do something to change their lives. So in my work, I could be, because we are multi-layered, so I could be peeling off the layers and showing the true characteristics of a woman. So for example, on the pieces, like the Ogwami piece, at times I'm questioning what's mine, because sometimes we face abuse, as women, we face violence, and sometimes we are even judged for our own bodies. So I'm questioning, if this body is mine, what makes it mine? Why is it that other people have a say, you know, on my body? So I'm telling different stories, and sometimes a woman can be a nurturer and a comforter, but sometimes a woman can be what's the word, a fighter, you know, like for example with the activists like Winnie Mandela, you know, she was a fighter. So sometimes I'm telling all sorts of stories, and even with my sculptures, I would tell stories, for example, about the shucks, I forgot the abbreviation, but when the circumcision of women. Yes. So, for example, on the piece that you're showing on the screen, of a red, the red sculpture, I'm talking about the what is it? The clitoris being castrated. You know, on some parts of Africa, that is still going on. So we hardly hear stories about that because somebody's out there think that you know, as women, these are the things that we must face, you know, and forgetting about the pain that we are facing, you know. So also sometimes I could be talking about how we are deprived, how we are restricted, you know, from doing things that sometimes could push us forward as the nation, or even you know, as a country, you know. So I'm talking about different, you know, aspects.
It's true that your works really are, for most people, obviously, because you work with the end product is so beautiful, you know. The end product is so colorful. People might forget the message that is behind, and it's very important that we get also to hear your thought process and what is the meaning of the piece, like Owami, for example. Now, Sissy, the one thing that I love about your work, and a lot of my collectors who bought your work are always saying to me, is that the mixture, the texture, some of you might not recognize this, but here, it's not a flat product, but more like a 3D product, because when you do your collages, you incorporate fabrics, found objects, and also magazine cuts of magazines, and a whole lot of other things that you incorporate in your works. Can you tell us, Sissy, how long it takes for you to produce these masterpieces?
A piece can take, sometimes depending on the size, it can take a week, it can take weeks, or even months. I think it depends on also on maybe the content, on what I'm trying to show. So sometimes it can take me a while, where I find myself that the piece it's not really telling the story that I want it to tell. So I would put it up on the wall and let it communicate with me. So sometimes then I would have to take time and look for something that can just, you know, make that impact. So then it would take a week or even months, you know. I think it always depends, and I always juggle, you know, with life happening as it is. I would be juggling works, you know, sometimes moving from one work to another, and maybe going back to that the first work, you know. Then sometimes I even lose track of time of exactly how much time I've put in the works.
Phumzile, Sissy, it has been a simple and, you know, a pleasure talking to you and having you share your thoughts and your methodology with the audience today. Thank you so much, Sissy. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time as well.